Hello, I'm sitting here with my friend, my brother, Calvin. So that's what I call him. A lot of people have names for him. He's called Boss. He's called Dr. Calvin T. Wilson II. He's called a lot of things.
Yeah, people have called me a lot of things.
So welcome to Turning the Turntables. You've seen me before, and this is all new. We're getting it out there. So this is Turning the Turntables, where we interview, we talk, and we just kind of, be real and say whatever you want to say. So this is not even scripted, although I wrote a few things down because I don't want to forget. So, Calvin and I have known each other since the early 70s, and we won't get too deep into a lot of that because we could go on for days and days and days. This is about DJing.
Absolutely.
So, Calvin, what do you know about sound equipment or lighting equipment?
Wow, that's an interesting question, Reg, because bottom line is a fair amount. I just grew up loving music, loving to listen to music, loving to play music. My father loved music. And then when I went to college, initially I studied to be an engineer. So in engineering, we hit a lot of things in electronics, and of course sound and lighting were a part of them. And when I started getting into equipment, of course I was looking for that high level equipment with low signal to noise, all those terms that that just make it sound clean and make it sound good.
Right. So did you have fun prior to going to college dealing with that kind of stuff, or when you went to college that was kind of your first exposure?
No, actually it was all through junior high and high school, but at that point it was mostly listening to a radio or playing with this old-fashioned thing called a cassette player at that point. A lot of people wouldn't even know what that is at this point.
A cassette player for mixed tapes, because it's a cassette tape.
Exactly.
All right.
Exactly. So and came up mixing songs on a tape, but it would be sitting there listening to it, playing on what was called a record player at that point. Now a turntable.
That's true.
And putting it together, and very crude forms of mixing. So it's been all through junior high and high school and into college.
So were you a DJ or producer, or what did you consider yourself back then?
I don't know if I considered myself anything other than a lover of music, but my way of relaxing would be to go into the basement in our house, which of course you're very familiar with, and just put a tape together, crank it up, lay there on the couch, and basically until my mother came down and chased me off of it with a broom. Literally.
Bye.
General.
Yeah, she didn't play.
She did not play. And I got chased off that couch many a time with a broom.
So, she had to hit you with a broom, man. Look at you. You had weights down there. You were swole in. She didn't play. She's like, why should she?
Nope.
Yeah. So what do you like about the DJing environment? You've been around this for a long time. You know. What do you like about the environment of DJing?
I've been blessed to see it at a lot of different levels, from the early days in the basement to getting the first sound system and being able to have music that really sounded good. It wasn't just there, it sounded good. And for me, it's an art form. Anybody can play music.
Right.
Definitely not just anybody can DJ. You've got to be able to know the music, first of all, but you've got to be able to know your audience that you're dealing with. You've got to be able to read a crowd. You've got to be able to keep it going by reading a crowd, because one thing that drives me crazy is going somewhere and the DJ is not good. He doesn't know how to mix things together. I think there are times I actually have called Reggie, like I just called you because I had to get out of the place where we are because I couldn't listen to this anymore, or to watch somebody actually have a groove going and then just completely blow it, and everybody, it just kills the mood in the place. So
yeah, that's true.
That's true. Kind of my take on DJing.
So you talked about your first sound system. I remember my first sound system. I got it for my birthday, and I think it was my birthday around March 78 or something like that, 78, 79. And it was in a box, and I didn't know what to do because it had a turntable, it had a receiver, it had speakers and wires and all that. I had no clue. So I called you up. You remember that?
I do remember that.
You know, and you came over the house, and you helped me to figure out, you know, positive, negative, red and black wires, where they go, how to put them in there and turn it and all that stuff. And then the one challenge was the turntables. Remember that?
Yes, I do.
So what did you do to help me learn this turntable?
Well, you know, it was interesting is that the turntables back then were a little bit different then, and not going to get into technology of direct drive and belt drive
Right.
and
It was a
things
belt
like
drive.
that. Yeah, and specifically what I did to help you learn that I don't remember. I remember us, you know,
The
being
balancing.
together and doing. Oh yeah, the balancing.
Yeah. Because
yeah.
I couldn't figure it out. I remember, got it out of the box, put it up, hooked it up, and then the tone arm just went up in the air.
Oh yeah.
And I ain't know what to do. And I'm like, how do you get it to stay down and play on the record? And it's just sitting up in the air.
Yeah.
And that's when you taught me how to use the balance on the back, the weight on the back of it to balance it out and get it just right, to sit on the record just right. And that kind of began, you know, part of my my DJing career on a legitimate sound system.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And I mean, things were so different then. I mean, now a lot of things are electronic, and you can bypass some of that. But back then, you really had to know the music. You had to be able to hear it. You had to be able to do a lot of things yourself that are now done for you with computer. Not that it still doesn't take talent, but in those days, you really had to know and learn your equipment and know your music and how to play it as well.
I should have brought the picture, but I have a picture of you in a Greek fraternity. I think it's like one of the greatest fraternities ever, the grace, the faith of the earth. It's called Kappa Alpha Psi.
Yeah, I have heard of that. Yes, yes, yes.
Have this
I wouldn't
Kappa
say
Alpha
one
Psi.
of the greatest. I would say
The
greatest. Yes, sir.
Yes, I agree. I stand corrected, big brother. but the point is, you had the shirt on, and it's a picture of us in a backyard in West Philadelphia
Yes.
or South Philly or somewhere around there, and I had that sound system set up.
Yes, sir.
And everywhere I went, I took it with me, and I DJ'd, you know, and you were kind of a roadie at the time.
Yeah, I think with that one, it was a situation after I had gotten my first real higher level system is a Yamaha.
Yeah,
And I still have that. And I think at that particular, that we had components from both of our systems.
We did.
So-
We had two receivers, your turntable, my turntable.
Right.
In order for me to DJ on two different, unlike turntables. Right.
Yeah, so there was no mixing board. We had to do it
we
by
had to
hand.
do it by hand. And volume control on one component set, on one receiver, on the other receiver.
Exactly.
Kind of like those Bozak mixers. Yeah, and Walter Wesley Watson was with us.
Yes, he was.
Walter Watson.
WWW.
With his big afro.
Yes.
Yeah, man. Those are some days.
They were absolutely some days.
So, who were some of the DJs or crews you listened to back in the day?
And I listened to a lot of different people. When it comes to DJs, it's probably along the lines of people like Jazzy Jeff, being from Philly. Grandmaster Flash was another big one, and a lot of them are still, you know, out there and out and around. I don't even know the guy's name from Secret Weapon, but he did a song that I still love. Must Be the Music. And he was definitely somebody I would listen to because I liked the way that he would blend being able to play the music and interact with the audience.
Right.
But at the same time, not saying too much. Some DJs, they just get to talking and it actually interrupts the flow of the music. And that's part of the art of it, in my opinion. Know when to shut up. Exactly.
Now, you grew up in that environment when we had Galaxy 5.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. And we used to, they were everywhere. Calico Kitchen and Hotel Philadelphia, Wagner Ballroom, different places. Lakey's. That's right. Lakey's up the street from you. Yeah. And then they also did a cut with Pieces of a Dream.
Right.
Yeah. So why don't we shift there a little bit? Pieces of a Dream.
Pieces of a Dream.
You know, so you lived in an environment of a lot of musicians.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, you knew DJs. Cedric, the bass player, lived around the corner from you.
Right. Versus Cedric, the entertainer.
Right.
He was an entertainer.
He was an entertainer.
Different type of.
Right. Cedric's a capper.
Yeah.
and so, but then, years later, Boyz II Men popped up.
Yeah.
And, they grew up in Philly, and you know them as well.
Yeah.
So you are associated with a lot of musicians.
It's interesting. I grew up in an environment where I was just taught to be down to earth with everybody. Mm-hmm. It's Reggie knows my family very well. My dad was his dad. My mom was his other mom. His mother was my mother.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Grew up very close like that, but we were always taught that God's no respecter of person. So it wasn't about who you knew. We also grew up in an environment where our folks knew some people that were big.
So this humble dude right here, what he ain't saying, I'm gonna say it. His dad was an African American. You gotta say that because sometimes people have mixed parents, right? Especially if he's the common pleas court judge of Philadelphia, right? Yeah. And so his dad was a judge. I didn't even know he was a judge for many years until we were like 17 or something like that. And Calvin and I had a dispute, and he's like, you know what? We're gonna sign a contract, and I'll get my dad to sign it. He'll endorse it or something like that. I'm like, man, what's your dad ain't got nothing to do with it. Well, my dad's a judge. I'm like, your dad's no judge.
And so, expletive deleted.
And so I went upstairs. I'm like, Mr. Wilson, you a judge? And he looks at me like, because he was always sweet. He looked at me like, of course I am. I'm like, oh, so all of those years that I've been doing bad stuff, even in his house, and I'm doing this in front of a judge. But like Calvin said, no respect to persons. We are just being us, and so I was just being me until even after I found out he was a judge. I still
didn't change.
I just continue to be me.
Reggie B has always been Reggie B. And,
As
he says, just doing what I do.
I just do what I do. So, what are your couple of best memories when a DJ was in the zone? Because you know this, you know the game, you've seen it, you talked about when a DJ's not. But what are some of your best memories when they're in the zone?
And when a DJ is in the zone, Reg, it's, in my mind, almost magical. I mean, you can feel it in the room. It sounds kind of corny or sounds cliche, but when a DJ is in the zone, it's almost like it takes over the entire atmosphere of that room. And you can feel it palpably. There are people that are on the floor. There are people who are asking for more. The floor is packed. When the songs change, they're not moving. Everybody's happy. Everybody is, I don't know how else to explain it, but it just is that situation where everything is just vibing together.
I understand. That's actually it's kind of like some people call it the pocket, but the zone. I think most DJs who have experience, who've been doing it for a while, they just can't wait to get in that zone. And quite frankly, there are times when it just doesn't quite happen the way you want for various reasons.
Right.
There've been times I tried hard and it just wasn't happening. And then maybe I got them near the end or something like that because I wasn't leaving until I got them. But yeah, that zone is a huge pocket.
And there's so many things that can affect that zone. It could be the crowd that night. Mm-hmm. It could be, the temperature in the room. It could be things like the equipment or the acoustics of the room. Mm-hmm. I remember being at this wasn't DJing, but it was a concert with one of the groups that you mentioned, working with one of the sound guys, and it just sounded terrible. They were doing vocals, they were doing tracks, and they were doing instruments in the Philharmonic Hall, and it sounded like somebody was playing an AM radio. Oh. And it probably took 40 or 50 minutes to get it tuned in, and they
Was this
did.
after the audience was there? And
Yeah.
Okay.
And what's funny was
So
there's
they
something
tuned in
called
on the fly.
a sound check, and it sounded phenomenal during sound
But
check.
once people
but
get
once
in-
people get in, it can change the shape of the sound 40 or 50%, and it was just hard to recover from that night.
So teaching moment here. So Calvin has helped me set up equipment, take down equipment, do sound checks, and for many years. And one of the things that Calvin does, and this is for other DJs who may be watching, is throughout the party he's walking around, listening to the sound, and as people fill up and they absorb the sound with their body, their clothing, and everything else, the sound changes. And I can't hear it because I'm behind the speakers, and everybody else, they're in front of the speakers. And what he does is he comes back every 15 minutes or so and say, your treble's too high, or your bass is a little muddy, or I can't feel the thump, or I think it's distorted. Do this, do that. And then he'll look at the EQ and he'll say, yeah, you need to do this, do that, because I can't hear it. So it's good to have somebody with an ear who knows a little bit about engineering, and they're able to give you constructive feedback in the moment, because whatever it is that he's hearing, everybody that's out there is hearing us as well, and I want to make sure that we give them the best sound possible.
And it's funny, you talk about getting in the zone and the crowd playing a role in that. There are times, it's funny, there's a scripture in the Bible that says, he who has an ear, let him hear. Now, I'm not comparing this to that, but it does apply to DJing. And if there's something a little off, what's interesting is a lot of people in an audience don't know exactly what it is, the things you talked about, the treble's a little bit too high, you're not getting enough thump from the bass, the mid-range is muddy, but they know something's not right. And that will keep a crowd from getting into a zone, which will keep the DJ from getting into a zone.
That's true.
That's an important
because
component.
There's an energy there that you want to happen, and it doesn't always happen.
Exactly.
There's a name. Remember I said he's called by many names, right? So he just said something that reminded me that he's also Reverend Calvin Wilson. So, Calvin has been known to preach at churches when the pastor's not there, or when the pastor is there. Calvin funeralized and did the eulogy for my mom, and presided over the wedding.
Yeah.
And so with Reggie and Kai. So he preaches and he knows the Bible well. So having a best friend who knows that much about the Bible and is in tune with God like that, this is going to sound weird when I say it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing no matter how you look at it, but he knows me well, and so he says certain things, and now I'm gonna still be Reggie B, but he makes me think. So speaking of thinking, I've heard you sing before, and you don't sound too bad. So there's probably a lot of people don't know you actually really do know how to sing. So what got you into singing?
Wow. My father had an incredible voice. He loved to sing, was always singing around the house, always had music going. He was part of musical groups coming up.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, street corner groups.
Right.
In South Philly.
Is that why they call him Chico?
No. The answer to that is no, but that just goes way back, before my time as well. But I remember some artists that some people that may watch this would know, and you and I obviously know, but they may not. There was a guy by the name of Billy Paul, Paul Williams.
I know
was
him.
his real name.
I DJ'd his 25th anniversary.
Did you?
At the Civic Center.
Wow.
Billy Paul.
I remember he came to our house one night. I hadn't met him. I knew his song, Me and Mrs. Jones, which was arguably the most successful song that he had. Well, I don't think it's arguable. I think that's
right. Everybody knows that one.
Knows that one, yeah. And Billy had a little bit too much to drink and was trying to push his way into the house. I hadn't met him before, but he was like, I'm coming. Now, Reggie knows that I had some background in other combative arts and wrestling, and Billy was about to find himself in a precarious position. I'll leave it at that. When
Man,
my father came in and introduced them, but we were around people like that. Remember that Patti LaBelle lived right around the corner from us, and her husband was principal or assistant principal at a local junior high. Pieces of a Dream, you mentioned. Breakwater. We have a mutual friend that was very good friends with George Duke. So,
right.
You mentioned Pieces of so it's just kind of interesting to be in that realm and just not about, God's no respecter of person, so I'm not either. But it's interesting to be around people who are at the tops in their
That's
game.
true. Now, I will say this. So there's one song in my head that Calvin could sing his butt off. Heat Wave, Always and Forever.
Always and Forever.
Heat Wave, Always and Forever. So, most of the guys, we try, right? We sound squeaky. When we get to the high notes and all this, we're just tone deaf. I may have a great ear when it comes to DJing, but when it comes to my own voice, I can't hear what I sound like. And so he was that guy who could do Always and Forever. And I just remember those days, so we'll kind of leave it at that. So since you're from Philly, and I know you mentioned Billy Paul, so this may be a moot one, but who is your favorite artist or group from Philly? A Philly artist or group, and why?
By far, for me, Boyz II Men.
Okay.
And there are a lot of good artists, in my opinion. Obviously, we grew up there, so I'm going to be biased to Philadelphia artists, but there are a lot of top artists that came out of Philadelphia. For me, when you talk about Boyz II Men, you're talking several things. One, the thing that you don't hear a lot in music these days, my opinion only, is harmony. And it is tough to throw together good harmony. Also, when I look at the members of the group and what they can do individually, there may be times when you're listening to a song not even realizing that they're switching back and forth between members of the group.
Yeah, because maybe one got a cold or something that day.
Or they just have that kind of range, and they all do have those types of ranges, and each of them has their special talents or their areas that they are in the most. But all of them have incredible falsettos. All of them have this sense of harmony where they can hear something and immediately kick in.
Watch about if we bump our mic, because I don't have any speakers or monitors, so I'm just wondering, are they hearing us bump the mic if we bump it? Sorry about that.
But that's why for me.
Okay.
My favorite is Boyz II Men.
Well, maybe they'll hear this one day, and they'll be calling you up. Yo, Cal, thanks for the shout out, man. You be like, all right, no problem. So, if you could give advice to a DJ or an artist, what would you tell them? You know a lot of information. You've been to a lot of concerts. Matter of fact, the very first concert I went to was with you. We went to see Rolls Royce. Yeah. At the Spectrum, I think. Yeah. But yeah, you've been around a lot of DJs and artists. You're a little older now, So, what kind of wisdom could you impart upon a DJ or artist?
First of all, is just to develop their ear. Develop their ear. For a DJ, it's important to develop an ear for a couple things. One is the song that's playing and the balance within that song. Because you can play a song, and if you don't have the equalization right, it just doesn't sound the same. The second is being able to pay attention to what is coming and thinking 2, 3, 4 records down the line, not just about what's playing or not just about a certain theme. You've done some incredible theme parties lately, like Backyard Music, or I don't want to get into that, but you can go along a theme. But if you're not thinking in terms of what can I fit together, how can I overlap it, when do I switch from one to the other, that in and of itself can completely kill the vibe in a room. So know your craft, know your equipment, and think.
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for participating in what I call turning the tables.
All right.
This is where I get to interview folks as opposed to me just, doing the music and doing what I do. Before we go, is there anything that you would like to say that you haven't said?
Yeah, I am. I think of Reggie like a brother. Okay, he is the brother that I never had. I've seen him through all types of times, and one thing that I will tell you is that no matter what he does it to the nth degree. I'm proud of you for that. Having been able to work with a lot of people at a lot of different areas, a lot of different arenas in sound, I can tell you the things that I've learned from you or through us working together. I've been in places where my place wasn't even to do sound there, but when I got there and started to make comments, people were looking at me like, how you know that? I'm just thinking Reggie B experiences that we've had. So you can do things that a lot of people don't do, or I shouldn't say don't do. They don't do them because they can't do them.
Right.
But it's not something that just, with all due respect to you, comes up just because you're that good naturally. People don't understand how much you are, but they don't understand how much this man practices his craft, how much he criticizes himself from a good standpoint, just to make the product that he provides the best that it can be, and has a blast doing it, and just he'll always tell you, I'm just gonna be Reggie B.
I'm just Reggie B being me.
So that's from Calvin T to Reggie B.
Yo. Well, thank you, brother.
All right, man.
I appreciate this. So you were listening to Reverend Dr. Calvin T. Wilson II, just being Calvin T.
Absolutely.
With DJ Dr. Reggie B. We thank you for watching. Make sure that you subscribe to my YouTube channel. Make sure that you like the thumbs up, hit likes, and then share this with other people. And then view it at least 3 more times, because this was a lot of knowledge and nuggets here. So now, we don't have a crew here. This is COVID. So the person that turned this on record is the same person that's got to turn it off. So that's me. I would ask Calvin to take us out by singing Always and Forever, but I'm going. All right, Calvin. Thank you.